video, I am going to be reviewing the Fliphead Mouthpiece. There are a couple different reasons why you might be interested in the Fliphead Mouthpiece. Basically, the way that it works is it is a head joint, if you will, that you attach to the body of your flute. I will go more into that later. But why would you actually want to use this? Well, for someone like me who's a professional flutist, it gives you a new sound to your flute, but you're still able to use the fingerings and everything that you're used to on the regular flute, because you're using the body of your flute. Number two, if you have had any injuries and it hurts to hold your flute horizontally like this, by holding it like this, a lot of times that alleviates some of the pain while playing. So that gives you the ability to do that with the Fliphead Mouthpiece. And the third reason would be because maybe you are a doubler and your first instrument is saxophone or clarinet and you're picking up flute. The hardest thing usually for that transition is not necessarily the fingerings or holding the flute, it's the embouchure, and it's really hard to get used to that right at the beginning. While the Fliphead is not going to give you the exact same sound as a flute, it will sound a lot more flute-like than a clarinet or a saxophone, and it can at least be like your entryway into learning the flute. Or let's say you just transitioned and you have to be able to play flute for a gig of some sort and you just can't get the embouchure right away. You could throw this on and you will be fine, and then eventually work up to being able to use the regular head joint for the flute, but this is a really great option for that as well. Now let's talk about what kind of flute you can put a flip head onto. I did try this out on some of my different flutes. This one, the body of this flute right here is by Trevor James. It's their Performers series. It is a more intermediate instrument. So the reason that I mention this is because you want this obviously to fit, and it's fine if it's a little bit looser. You can either have this adjusted. One thing that I actually just did because it was slightly loose is I put the tiniest amount of Scotch tape on here. What you want to do is you don't put it vertically like this or horizontally like this. You just kind of want to wrap it a little bit diagonally, and just like the tiniest little bit on here, just add a little bit at a time, and then it'll make it so that it's a little bit tighter and it's not going to be moving around while you're playing. So that's very important so that it doesn't fall. Now, what you don't want to have happen is put this into your flute and it's too tight and you force it in there, because that could damage both this as well as your flute. So definitely don't do that. Now, in terms of which flutes it will actually fit, the reason that I mentioned intermediate flute beforehand is most intermediate flutes, the tubing of the flute is actually going to be silver plated. So this head joint fit really well in this body, which is silver plated. And if you don't know this, totally fine. That's why I wanted to go over this now. Silver plated flutes have a wider diameter. So those are going to be the largest of the flutes typically. Every flute's different, so you'll want to try it with your flute, but they will have the widest diameter. Now, when you move to a solid sterling silver tubing, the diameter is going to shrink slightly. I did try it on my flute that has a sterling silver body, and it did not fit. And then gold is usually even smaller of a diameter, so it would definitely not fit with my gold flute either. So this is the one that I found that it fit really well. Like I said, it was just slightly a little bit loose, which is totally fine. I just added the tape and now it fits really well. And the way that you put this on your flute is very, very easy. It's just like a head joint. You just pull it on and off just like this, and it is in one piece. It does come apart so that you can clean this, but in terms of just using it every day, you won't need to do that, and this is how you use it. Now let's talk about what this mouthpiece comes with. So it comes in this box like this, and you just open it here, and then your mouthpiece will be in this little bag right here. So this is what you can store it in, which is great. And then in this bag right here is where you're actually going to have the thumb rest, which I actually already have on the flute, which is right here. When you hold a flute, not horizontally, but vertically, it's just kind of hard with the weight displacement. Obviously, the flute is meant to be played horizontally like this, so when you switch it vertically, the flute can kind of slip down, and so that's why having the thumb rest is really nice. You just have it right above your right thumb like this. You can adjust it however is most comfortable to you. This is the placement that I have. Here is your F and E key, and that's where I have it adjusted. Now I'm going to play it for you, and I'm just gonna noodle around and see what it sounds like. let's try the first 2 octaves. Honestly, I think it's really easy to play. I love the tone quality of this mouthpiece. Now, what I will say is you might have to make slight adjustments if you are just used to playing the regular traditional flute. One thing I will mention is that I have had a lot of experience playing on a ton of different types of flutes, world flutes, and so I'm used to making the adjustments needed to make them work. So if you haven't had as much experience, which is absolutely okay, just know that it might take a little bit of adjustment to get used to playing on this if you're just used to playing on the traditional Western flute. So I did want to mention that. You will just need to put a little bit of time into it. I think after a day or 2 though, you will get used to playing it. It's a pretty easy adjustment, and again, it's just really nice because it's able to play the full range of the flute. The first adjustment is you might need to loosen your embouchure just slightly when playing. Play around with it, see what works. I'm able to play really easily into the very low register. I can play all the way to a low B, and then I can play all the way to a high C2 above the staff. So it's very easy to play the whole range of the flute, which is great. Sometimes different head joints that you put on the flute don't actually work in every single register, but this allows me to actually play every single note that I would need to play. In terms of the type of music that you could play with this, I think you can honestly use it for a lot of different things. You could use it for classical, you could use it for jazz, you could use it for a more worldly sound. I think it can just be used in a lot of different contexts, just depending on what it is that you are wanting to play. I'm so glad that I'm able to add this to my collection. It's always so nice to have a head joint or a mouthpiece that I can put on the flute. Then I'm able to play the fingerings that I'm used to, and I'm able to play in every single key. I don't have to worry about a flute being only in one particular key and then having to switch it out if there is a key change or something like that, or an accidental, and then it makes it really difficult. So it's just so much easier. I can play chromatically on this, which is fantastic. And if you are interested in the Fliphead Mouthpiece, make sure to go check out their website. Thank you so much for watching this video, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and let me know what you think of this mouthpiece. I think it's so cool, a great addition to my different head joints and mouthpieces. I'm really glad that I'm able to add this now. And again, as always, make sure to subscribe to me here on YouTube for future videos about the flute, and you can also find me on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll see you next time.